No matter what year it is, rookies, more often than not, spend their first year being objectively bad players. This doesn't mean that they don't show off glimmers of promise and potential throughout that first campaign, but their ability to consistently produce in a positive way isn't always there. Obviously, there are also always a few exceptions, as some players come into the league and immediately make a big impact and feel comfortable competing at the highest level. This was no different for the draft class of 2018, as it was a very strong draft class with several players that were good from the jump, and plenty of others who showed the exact kind of promise that I was talking about but weren't able to put it together consistently. This brings us to the topic of today's video, where we'll be discussing 7 second-year NBA players that I believe are in for massive breakout seasons after promising yet inconsistent rookie years. Also, I didn't include any players that made first team all-rookie last season because those players were already producing right away. Before we start though, make sure to subscribe to the channel as all support is very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. Not that this is in any particular order, but up first on this list is Josh Okogie of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Okogie made a very good impression on Wolves fans early on and has become a fan favorite up north. He plays with so much energy, always giving it everything he's got, especially on the defensive end where he already was very impactful, which is pretty rare for rookies. Rookies typically come into the league and struggle with the pace and the strength of the opposition, but Okogie looked comfortable matching up with anyone. He looked like a vet on defense, and that end of the floor will be his calling card that keeps him around the league for a long time. Offensively, he was pretty inconsistent and inefficient, but again, that's nothing out of the ordinary for rookies. He's a high-flying athlete with good blow-by speed and can finish very well around the rim. The biggest part of his game that he'll need to work on is his jump shot, especially as a guard, because shooting 28% from 3 is not going to cut it. He's been playing with the Nigerian national team this summer in the World Cup, and in those games has shown off more confidence in his deep ball, so assuming that translates over to the NBA at least somewhat, then he should be in for quite a nice leap in year 2. Next up on this list of breakout second-year players is Collin Sexton of the Cleveland Cavaliers. At the beginning of the season, Sexton hadn't quite earned the respect of his teammates, with things apparently getting leaked about how they didn't even think he could play. By the end of the year though, he proved all of his doubters, including his teammates, wrong, and played some exceptional basketball that got glossed over by most because of how bad and uninteresting the Cavaliers were for the most part. As a score-first point guard, he's a dog that attacks the rim hard every time he drives, and is crafty enough to create open looks for himself. The best part of this regarding his playstyle is that his shooting from the perimeter was a question mark coming into the season, but he wound up shooting a highly efficient 40% from deep as a rookie. That number may not be something that he can maintain throughout his career, but if his shooting is actually above average, then the rest of his game will open up a lot more. Plus, as a combo guard, he should be able to fit well alongside newly drafted Darius Garland, who should play more of the actual point guard role next year. Next up on this list is Michael Porter Jr. of the Denver Nuggets. Now, technically, MPJ is a rookie this season because he didn't play at all last season, but in this video I'm more focusing on players from the 2018 draft than I am concerning myself with the technical status of players. Back in the time of the draft, he was dealing with serious back issues that very obviously hampered his ability to play at a high level, as we all saw in the few games he played for Missouri in college. His mobility was hampered, his athleticism and explosiveness were missing, and his jumper wasn't falling at the rate people expected it to. However, with all of that being said, he did practically take the entire year off last season, focusing solely on rehab and getting healthy. Plus, if he does return to full health, then the Michael Porter Jr. we saw in high school was an elite prospect ranked number 1 in his class for a reason. He was a 6'10", shot-creating matchup nightmare, but we haven't seen that from him in a while. The NBA is definitely a much tougher task than anything he's faced on the court to date, but if his back is healthier, which is a big if, then he could be a steal for the Nuggets this season. Up next on this list of breakout second-year players is Zhaire Smith of the Philadelphia 76ers. Zhaire went through one of the most bizarre setbacks a player has ever experienced last year, as he suffered a broken foot, and then while recovering from that, he suffered a severe allergic reaction that put him in the hospital for months. The good news is that he's back now looking completely healthy and ready to pick up where he left off after college. He was arguably the best athlete in the 2018 draft, recording the biggest vertical leap, and his defensive potential is through the roof. He fights through screens as hard as anyone, creates a ton of turnovers, and his versatility as a switchable defender will be something the Sixers take full advantage of this year. Smith is a 6'4" guard that grew up playing the big men positions, so his instincts finishing at the rim and defending it are better than most guards you'll see. His potential depends on how much his jump shot develops though, because he's only mediocre at best in that regard, and relies pretty much completely on catch and shoot spot up attempts. But if he can make those at around a league average clip, then he has the ability to grow into one of the top 3-and-D players in the league. Up next on this list of breakout second-year players is one of my personal favorites all the way back from the time of the draft, Mitchell Robinson of the New York Knicks. After skipping college and entering the draft as a bit of an unknown, Robinson came out last year and performed exactly as I expected he would. He's an incredibly promising young rim-protecting big man that also works great in the pick and roll and finishes strong at the rim. Last season, he mostly came off the bench, but in limited minutes, he still ranked amongst the best in the league in blocks per game, averaging about 2.5 per game. This season, there's a good chance that he will be the starting center for the Knicks, meaning he'll see an uptick in minutes, meaning that blocks number will more than likely increase as well. I'd even go as far as to say that he might lead the entire league in blocks next season, because he's legitimately that good. The Knicks may still be a lottery team, but they do have a few nice young pieces to build around, with Robinson leading the way. Next up on this list of breakout second-year guys is Kevin Huerter of the Atlanta Hawks. While Trae Young got a majority of the attention last season on a young, exciting Hawks team, his rookie teammate Huerter may have been slightly more consistent from start to finish. Huerter is also a terrific shooter on the wing, not only spotting up, but he's also more than capable of creating his own shot off the dribble. Plus, he's a sneaky good athlete that will get up and throw one down at the rim if you underestimate him. He and Trae have, for good reason, been labeled by some as a young, discount version of the Steph Curry-Klay Thompson backcourt, and could be the next generation of the Splash Bros to a lesser extent. Next year, after getting a full year under his belt and showing more confidence toward the end of the season, he's a top breakout candidate because the Hawks still don't quite have big expectations, so the freedom the young players will have to grow will be given to them. The Hawks have put together a very strong group of young players during their rebuild, and it goes much deeper than just Trae Young and John Collins. Last but certainly not least on this list of breakout second-year players is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder. The kind of player SGA has proven to be over the last few years should make any Thunder fan excited about his acquisition this offseason. He improves immensely from year to year, adding new aspects to his game that he just continues to improve upon. He's so sound all around with his game, but specifically, he's the kind of player that works the pick and roll and was a positive defender immediately. He's long, quick, and most importantly smart, so not only was his on-ball defense impressive, but off the ball he also always seemed to be in the right place at the right time. Now that he's on the Thunder, people around the organization seem to be ready to hand him the keys to the franchise after the Russell Westbrook trade, and for good reason. Yes, Chris Paul is still on the team, but there's a decent chance that he won't be in town long, and the priority for the team should be on the future, which is exactly what SGA is. He's going to have more freedom in Oklahoma City than he had on the Clippers, who were an older, experienced team in the playoff hunt, and with this green light, I see big things on the horizon for him. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment your thoughts down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.